Life is but a dream, they say, but how high? Welcome back, and if you're here, we are on module 3. I'm so excited. So right now we're focusing on empathy, right? And so empathy is allowing yourself to understand the perspective of those around you. Okay, empathy is allowing you to understand the people around you and to feel it yourself. Okay, so it doesn't have to happen to you, but this is our focus for this. Okay, now while we just talked about judgment, right, in module 1, and then we talked about listening without judging in module 2. So now we're going to talk about being quiet while the other person is talking and do not interrupt their flow. Okay, so this is just a guidance and a step. Okay, now when you ask someone, oh my gosh, are you okay? What's wrong? Right? Allow them the opportunity to just talk. A lot of the times, what I see as your teacher, or just being in the classroom, what I see sometimes is some students are like, oh, I'm having a hard time, and then they're like, okay, well, you can just blah 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 blah. Right? And so we're so quick to want to give our advice, or we're so quick to want to give our wisdom or knowledge or understanding, which is a good thing. You're trying to offer someone good advice. But sometimes, some people don't need advice. Some people just need someone there to listen to them. They need someone who will be able to speak to them, who will be able to, in speaking in terms of, how are you? They need someone to ask them questions to help them, because sometimes, in my experience, in Ms. Toto's experience, when I ask a student, are you okay? Is something going on? What's wrong? The student will open up and they'll say, well, this is wrong and that's wrong and that's wrong. And then they'll just keep going, right? And maybe sometimes they even they even start crying while they're talking to me, right? And so in that case, what I have to do is I have to be ready to listen. And not just listen, when we say listen, not just with my ears, right? Listen to what they're saying, that's important. But also, if they start crying, you have to be able to also respond to them, right? You have to be able to say, you know what? I am going to be here for this person. I am going to listen to, okay, they're crying. What should I do? What are some things that you should do if someone starts crying? Right? Something as simple as crying. So let's just talk about that. What would you do when someone starts crying? What's maybe the first thing you're going to do? I want you to write that down. I want you to write it down. I want you to stop the video right now. I want you to stop the video. Pause it. And I want you to think about, and write this down. Think about, what do you do when someone is crying, when they're telling you what the problem is? All right. Now, hopefully at this point in time, you've written down what you've written down. I'm going to give you some things that Miss Toto has written down. One of the things, if someone is crying and I'm seeing, right? So when you're listening, you're looking and you're listening, right? With your ears and with your eyes, okay? And so as I'm watching this person, right? Maybe they start bawling. They're like, I just didn't know what to do, right? So one of the things is, maybe you want to pat them on the back and just ask them if everything's okay. Maybe you want to give them a hug, but if you give them a hug, there's only one thing. When you give the person a hug, make sure that the person is okay with you giving them a hug. Make sure you ask, hey, can I give you a hug? Because sometimes they might not want a hug. They might be angry and they might not want to be touched. Okay? So anytime that you're touching someone, I understand that you care and that you're sad and you feel empathy with them, right? We just talked about empathy. You feel empathy with them. But you want to make sure that when you feel this empathy, they might not want to be touched. Okay, so always keep that in mind. Always ask. But also, the third thing I would say, and this is just my top 3. These don't have to be your top 3. These are Miss Toto's top 3. The last thing that I would do is maybe grab a tissue, right? I would, let me grab a tissue. Here you go. And then they can start wiping their face of the tears from their eyes. So these are just things that you could do if someone is crying. So I want you to think about, when is the last time that you helped someone, and when they started crying or they felt frustrated, what are some things that you did to help them? What are some things that you did to help them? I can't wait to talk about this with you soon. And let's go on and move on to the next module. Thank you so much for coming to module 3, where we are talking about being quiet while the other person is talking and how we can be there for the person, right? How we can be there for the person, because we don't want to interrupt their flow. And what does that mean? That means that we don't want to ask so many questions to them that that it just becomes question, answer, and the person's not able to tell you their story of what happened. Okay, so let's move on, and I'll see you in module 4. All in all, we don't just teach our students to fly, we empower them to soar. And with that being said, what are you waiting for?